chapters 22 through 27 of the book of Leviticus, from the Holy Bible in Modern English. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Mark Penfold. The Holy Bible in Modern English, translated by Ferrar Fenton. The book of Leviticus, chapters 22 through 27. Chapter 22. The Ever-Living also spoke to Moses, commanding, "Speak to Aaron and his sons, and separate them as consecrated from the children of Israel, so that they may not defile my holy name by which they are sanctified to me. I am the Ever-Living. Say to them for their posterity, every man of all your race who approaches to the sanctuary which the children of Israel have sanctified to the Ever-Living, whilst there is uncleanness upon him, that person shall be excommunicated from before me. I am the Ever-Living. Any man from the race of Aaron who has leprosy or the disease of fornication shall never eat of what is pure, or if he has a contagion of any disease on his body, or a man who comes from procreative copula, or a man who has touched any reptile that may defile him, or a man that may defile himself by anything that defiles him, a person who defiles him by touch until the evening, he shall not eat of the sacred offerings unless he bathes his body in water. But when the sun sets, then he will be clean, and afterwards may eat of the sacred offerings, for he is clean. Of a dead or torn carcass he shall not eat, to defile himself with it. I am the Ever-Living. Thus they shall reverence my trusts, and not bring sin upon themselves, and die in it to condemn themselves. I, the Ever-Living, consecrate them. No foreigner shall eat of the sacred offerings. A visitor to the priest, and the hired servant of the family shall not eat of the sacred offerings. But a priest who buys a person, having bought him for money, that person may eat, and those born in his house may eat of the food. But the daughter of a priest who has a foreign husband may not eat of the raised leg of the sacred offerings. But the daughter of a priest who may be a widow or divorced, and has no offspring for herself, and dwells in the house of her father as in her youth, she may eat of the bread of her father. But any foreigner may not eat it. Any person, however, who unknowingly eats of sacred offerings, shall return 5 times as much for it, and give it to the priest for the offerings. For the children of Israel shall not profane my sacred offerings, which are lifted up to the Ever-Living, and they shall bear the sin of trespass, if they eat of the sacred gifts. For I am the Ever-Living, who sanctifies them. The Ever-Living also spoke to Moses, and said, Speak to Aaron and to his sons, and to all the children of Israel, and say to them, Any man of the house of Israel, or of the foreigners in Israel, who offers a gift for any of their vows, or for any freewill gift which they present to the Ever-Living for a burnt offering that will please, let it be a perfect male from the oxen, or sheep, or goats. Anything that has a defect in it they shall not present, for it will not be pleasing to the Ever-Living from them. And the man who presents a sacrifice of thanks to the Ever-Living to fulfill a vow or a freewill offering, let it be a perfect, beautiful sheep. There must be no defect in it. The blind or torn shall not be presented to the Ever-Living, or the sick, or broken-winded, or scurvied, or scabbed. A female also shall not be offered by them at the altar of the Ever-Living. And an ox or sheep that is deformed, or a dwarf, if you make a vow of them, they will not be accepted. And if castrated, or crushed, or mutilated, or wounded, you shall not present them to the Ever-Living, and you shall not so mutilate them in your country. You shall also not present food to your God from any of these, by the hand of a foreigner, for to offer by him would be to desecrate them. They would not be accepted from you. The Ever-Living also spoke to Moses, commanding, When a cow or a sheep or a goat has young, then you shall let it be for 7 days with its mother, but on the 7th day it will be acceptable as a gift of trespass to the Ever-Living. But you shall not slay a cow or a sheep and their young upon the same day. And when you sacrifice a sacrifice of thanksgiving to the Ever-Living, you should sacrifice it for your delight. Eat it upon the same day, leave nothing of it until the morning. I am the Ever-Living, and you shall keep my commandments and practice them. I am the Ever-Living. And you shall not defile my holy name, for I would be sanctified in the midst of the children of Israel. I am the ever-living, who consecrated you. I brought you out from the land of the Mitzrayim to be a God to you. I am the ever-living. Chapter 23. The ever-living also spoke to Moses, commanding, Speak to the children of Israel, and say to them, These are the festivals of the ever-living, which you shall proclaim with a holy proclamation as my festivals. You shall do your work for 6 days, but on the 7th day there shall be a rest of rests, with a holy proclamation from all work. You shall do none on the Sabbath. It is for the ever-living in all your dwelling places. These are festivals to the ever-living, with a holy proclamation, which you shall proclaim at your festivals. In the 1st month, in the 14th day of the month, between sunrise and sunset, is the Passover of the ever-living. And on the 15th day of that month is the feast of unfermented bread to the ever-living. For 7 days you shall eat unfermented bread. Upon the 1st day you shall make a holy proclamation. You shall do no servile work, and you shall offer a trespass offering to the ever-living for 7 days. For 7 days, by a holy proclamation, you shall do no laboring work. The ever-living also spoke to Moses, commanding, Speak to the children of Israel, and say to them, When you come into the country that I will give to you, and reap its harvest, you shall bring the first sheaf of your harvest to the priest, and he shall wave the sheaf before the ever-living to delight you. The priest shall wave it the day after the Sabbath, and you shall offer on the day of your waving of the sheaf a perfect lamb, the son of that year, as a burnt offering to the ever-living, with a food offering of a 12th of flour mixed with oil as a perfume to the ever-living, a pleasant breath. And, as a draught of wine, the quarter of a hin. And you shall not eat in public bread, or oats, or vegetables on that day, until you have brought this gift to your God. This is a perpetual institution for your posterity in all your dwelling places. You shall also count for yourselves from the day after the Sabbath that you bring the wave sheaf 7 Sabbaths. They must be complete. Then after the 7th Sabbath you shall count 50 days, when you shall present a new offering to the ever-living. You shall bring from your dwellings 2 wave cakes of 2/10 of fine flour. They shall be fermented, baked in an oven for the ever-living. You shall also offer with this bread 7 perfect lambs of a year, and a bullock, a son of the fold, and 2 rams, which shall be a burnt offering to the ever-living, with their food offerings and their drink offerings, as a gift of sweet odor to the ever-living. You shall offer as well 1 he-goat for a sin offering, and 2 lambs of a year old for a thank offering, and the priest shall wave them with the first-made bread. He shall wave them before the ever-living. They shall be sacred to the ever-living, with the 2 lambs for the priest. Then there shall be made a holy proclamation to the public on that day. It shall be holy of holies to you. You shall not do any laboring work. This is an everlasting institution in all your dwellings, for your posterity, that in reaping your harvests you shall not reap to the edge of your fields in your reaping, and you shall not glean. Leave the gleanings for the poor and the foreigners amongst you. I am your ever-living God. The ever-living also spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, to say, In the 7th month, in the 1st day of the month, there shall be a rest for remembrance of sins. It is holy of holies. You shall not do any laboring work, and you shall offer a burnt offering to the ever-living. The ever-living also spoke to Moses, to say further, On the 10th of the 7th month there shall be a day of expiation. It shall be holy of holies to you. And you shall humble yourselves and offer a burnt offering to the ever-living. You shall do no laboring work on that day, for it is a day of expiation, to expiate for you before your ever-living God. Therefore every person who does not humble himself publicly on that day shall be cut off from his family. And every person who does any laboring work on that day, I will trouble that person in the midst of his family. You shall do no work. This is a perpetual institution for your posterity in all your dwellings. It is a rest of rests for you, when you shall humble your souls, on the 9th of the month at daybreak, from dawn to evening. You shall rest to refresh yourselves. The ever-living also spoke to Moses. Speak to the children of Israel, and say, On the 15th day of the 7th month there shall be the Feast of Tabernacles to the ever-living for 7 days. From the first day proclaimed holy, you shall do no laboring work. You shall present a burnt offering to the ever-living for 7 days. The 8th day shall be proclaimed holy for you, and you shall present a burnt offering to the ever-living. It shall be a public holiday. You shall do no laboring work in it. These are the assemblies of the ever-living, which you shall proclaim with a holy proclamation, for presenting and offering a burnt offering to the ever-living, a whole burnt offering and a food offering, a sacrifice and fragrance day by day, besides the Sabbaths of the ever-living, and besides your gifts, and besides all your vows and free wills which you give to the ever-living. Also on the 15th day of the 7th month after the reaping of the produce of your land, you shall enjoy the feast of the ever-living for 7 days, from the first day after the Sabbath until the 8th day after the Sabbath. You shall then take for yourselves on the first day handfuls of the finest fruits from the trees, with the palm and boughs of the bushes and willow, and enjoy yourselves before your ever-living God for 7 days. Thus you shall feast in this feast to the ever-living 7 days every year. It shall be a perpetual institution for your descendants. You shall hold the festival in the 7th month, living in tents for 7 days. All the natives of Israel shall live in tents, so that your posterity may know that the sons of Israel dwelt in tents when I brought you out from the land of the Mitzrayim. I am your ever-living God. Moses consequently commanded these feasts of the ever-living to the children of Israel. Chapter 24. The ever-living also spoke to Moses, commanding, Order the children of Israel to bring to you olive oil, pressed pure, for the lamps to raise a clear light outside the veil of the witnesses in the hall of assembly, which Aaron shall arrange continually from evening till dawn before the ever-living. It shall be an institution for your posterity forever, to arrange a pure light before the ever-living continually. Yourself also take flour and bake from it 12 cakes. These 12 cakes shall be of equal size, and place them in 2 piles, 6 in a pile, on the pure table before the ever-living. And place upon the piles pure incense, and they will be the bread of remembrance, like a burnt offering to the ever-living. From a Sabbath day to a Sabbath day they shall be always arranged before the ever-living, as an everlasting covenant with the children of Israel. And they shall belong to Aaron and to his sons, and be eaten in the holy place, for they are holy of holies to them from the offerings to the ever-living. This is a perpetual institution. It occurred once that the son of an Israelitish woman, who was also the son of a Mitzrayite man, among the sons of Israel, quarreled in the camp with the son of an Israelitish woman and an Israelite man. And the son of the Israelitish woman cursed the name, and insulted it. They therefore brought him to Moses. The name of his mother, however, was Shelemith, the daughter of Dibri of the tribe of Dan. So they put him under guard to inquire about him from the ever-living. The ever-living consequently spoke to Moses, commanding, Take the blasphemer outside the camp, and let all who heard him lay their hands upon his head, and let all the assembly kill him. Then you shall command the children of Israel, saying, Whatever person curses his God shall bear his sin, and the blasphemer of the name of the ever-living shall die. You shall kill him. All the assembly shall stone him. All of the population who blasphemes the name, whether native or foreigner, shall die. And whoever strikes off the life of a man shall die. And whoever strikes the life of a beast shall pay life for life. And a person who inflicts injury upon his neighbor, as he has done, so you shall do to him. Wound for wound, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. Whatever injury he has done to a man, the same shall be done to him. Thus whoever kills a beast shall compensate for it, but whoever kills a man shall die. There shall be equal justice with you for the foreigner and the native, for I am your ever-living God. Moses consequently spoke to the children of Israel, and they brought out the blasphemer from the camp, and killed him with stones. Thus the children of Israel did as the ever-living commanded to Moses. Chapter 25. The ever-living also spoke to Moses in Mount Sinai, commanding, Speak to the children of Israel, and say to them, When you arrive in the land that I will give to you, you shall grant the land a rest of rests to the ever-living. You shall sow your fields for 6 years, and prune your vineyards for 6 years, and then cease to go to them. And in the 7th year there shall be a rest of rests for the land to the ever-living. You shall not sow your fields, nor prune your vineyards. You shall not reap the self-grown harvest, nor cut off the bunches from your vine. It is a rest of rests for the earth. There shall be a rest of the earth to feed it, for you, and for your servant, and for your maidservant, and for your hired laborer, and for the foreigners residing with you, and for your cattle and animals that are in your country, who shall all be allowed to eat of it. Also reckon for yourselves 7 Sabbaths of years, 7 years 7 times, and they shall be for you a period of 7 sevens of years, 49 years. Then pass a loud-sounding trumpet through all the country. It shall be sent out upon the 10th day of the 7th month, on the day of expiation, to sanctify the 50th year, and proclaim liberty in the country to all its inhabitants. It shall be a jubilee to you, when every person shall return to his inheritance, and every one shall be restored to his family. Every 50th year shall be a jubilee for you. You shall neither sow nor reap, nor prune the vines, for it shall be a holy jubilee for you. Eat from the field what springs from it. In this jubilee year every one shall return to his inheritance. For what you buy in a sale of your neighbor, or acquire from the hand of your neighbor, does not dispossess your brother of it. According to the number of years after a jubilee you must purchase from your neighbor, you must buy it according to the number of years to run for yourself. In proportion to the number of years you shall increase the money, and in proportion to the fewness of the years you shall decrease the purchase price. Thus from the number to run it shall be purchased for yourself. For you shall not dispossess any of your neighbors, but fear your ever-living God. For I am your ever-living God, and you shall practice my institutions and my decrees, guarding and observing them, and dwell in the land in safety. Then the earth will give her fruits, and you can eat them to your fill and live securely upon it. But if you ask, What shall we eat in that 7th year, when we have neither sown nor continued our labors? I will then send my blessing to you in the 6th year, and make the produce of it for 3 years. But you may sow in the 8th year, and eat the stored produce in the 8th year, until the coming in of products in the 9th year. Until its produce comes, you must eat what was stored. Thus you shall not sell your land forever, for the land is mine, and you only foreigners and visitors with me, and with all the land you purchase, a power of redemption for the inheritance shall be given with the land. When your brother is reduced to poverty and sells some of his inheritance, if a relative of his brings the redemption for it, then the purchaser shall restore it to his brother. But if the person has not the redemption money, but he acquires it, and obtains possession of the amount for its redemption, then the years from its purchase shall be counted, and the balance paid to the person who purchased it, and his inheritance shall be restored. But if he cannot attain possession of enough to pay to the purchaser, it shall remain in his possession until the year of Jubilee, and when the Jubilee comes, then he shall return to his inheritance. But if a person sells a dwelling house in a walled town, then the redemption shall be at the end of a year from its purchase. That shall be the time of its redemption. But if he has not redeemed at the end of the complete year, and the house stands in a town which has walls, he is dispossessed forever. It shall not return to his posterity at the Jubilee. But houses in a court, where there are not fortified walls around, shall return with the land of the farm that belongs to them. They shall return with it when the Jubilee comes. But the cities of the Levites, the houses in the cities of the Levites are their inheritance. They shall always be redeemable to the Levites. But when redeemed, it shall be by the Levites, and the purchaser shall quit the house or village he has acquired at the Jubilee. For the village homes of the Levites are their inheritance in the midst of the children of Israel. But they shall not sell the grazing lands around their villages, for they are a perpetual inheritance for them. But if your brother becomes poor, and his hand fails among you, you must help him like a foreigner and settler, and let him live with you. Take no usury or increase from him, but fear your God, and let your brother live with you. You shall not lend your money to him at usury, and you shall not lend him food at increase. For I am your ever-living God, who brought you from the land of the Mitzrayim, to give you the land of Canaan, to be for you from the ever-living. Therefore when your brother becomes poor with you, and sells himself to you, you shall not work him as slaves work. He shall be with you as a hired man until the year of Jubilee, to serve you. Then he shall go from you, he and his children with him, and return to his family, and to the inheritance of his fathers. For you were slaves in the land of the Mitzrayim when I brought you out. You shall not purchase him as you purchase a slave. You shall not reduce him to slavery, but shall fear your God. Your men and women slaves, however, you may buy from the nations that surround you. They shall be your slaves. And you may also buy the children of the foreign residents among you, and from their families who are with you, who are born in your country, and they shall be your property. You may also bequeath them to your children after you, to hold them as property forever, and they shall serve you. But your relatives of the children of Israel are men, and your brothers. You shall not reduce them to slavery. When, however, a foreigner or settler among you obtains property in one of your poor brethren, and he is sold to the foreign resident, to be added to the family of the foreigner, he shall be redeemable after he has been sold to him. Any one of his relatives may redeem him. His uncle or cousin may redeem him, or any relation by blood of his family may redeem, or he may acquire property and redeem himself, and pay to his purchaser according to the years he bought him for, up to the year of Jubilee. That shall be the price given to his purchaser, proportionate to the number of years by the scale of wages that might belong to him. If the years are many before them, he shall give back equivalent money to his purchaser. And if few of the years are remaining to the year of Jubilee, then he shall repay to him proportionate to the space of years, as the redemption fee. According to the wages year by year it shall be. You shall not add a profit for your eyes. But if he is redeemed by none of these, then he shall be freed at the year of Jubilee, both himself and his children with him. For the children of Israel are my servants, whom I brought up out of the land of the Mitzrayim. I am their ever-living God. Chapter 26. You shall not make idols for yourselves, nor shall you set up columns for yourselves, nor shall you erect stone images in your country for objects of worship. For I am your ever-living God. You shall keep my Sabbaths, and you shall reverence my sanctuary. I am the ever-living. If you are guided by my institutions, and guard my commandments and do them, I will then give my rain upon you, and the earth will give her produce, and the trees of the field their fruit. And your thrashing shall last till vintage, and vintage shall overtake seed time, and you shall eat to fullness, and live securely in your land. And I will give the land peace, and drive savage beasts from the land. And the sword shall not govern your country, and you shall subdue your foes. They shall fall before your sword. 5 of you shall conquer 100, and 100 defeat 10,000, and your foes fall to your sword. And my presence shall be with you, and you shall increase and grow. I will fix my covenant with you, and feed till your rest in quiet, and sleep and rise refreshed. I will fix my home among you, and turn not away my soul, but march with you and be your God, and my people you shall be. For I am your living God, who brought from the Mitzrites' land, to whom you had been enslaved, and from off you broke their rod, and in triumph marched you out. But if you refuse to hear me, and obey not all my commandments, and if you despise my statutes, and turn your souls from my laws, to neglect to do my commandments, and break away from my bonds, then I will do this to you. will send you consumption, and fever, and wasting of eyes, and a fainting soul, and scatter your race to the wind, and your foes shall devour yourselves. I will set my face against you, and strike you before your foes. And those who hate you shall drive, and you fly from instead of pursue. And if for this you will hear me not, I will sevenfold punish your sins, and break the pride of your strength, and turn your skies into iron, and make your ground like brass, and send you a choking wind, and your land not give her growth, nor the trees of the land their fruit. And if you load me perversely, and will not listen to me, I will sevenfold punish your sins, and wild beasts shall destroy your sons, and cut off your herds, and reduce, and haunt you upon your roads. If for these you turn not to me, but perversely load me still, then I will load you with grief, and heavily strike your sins, and bring cruel slaughter upon you, to avenge the broken law, and crowd you into your cities, and there send the plague to you, and give to the hand of your foemen. I will then break the staff of bread, and in one oven 10 shall bake, and your bread shall be given by weighing. You shall eat, but shall not be filled. If for this you will not hearken, but still recoil upon me, I then will advance on you fiercely, and charge on you in my wrath, I myself, for your sevenfold sins. You shall then eat the flesh of your sons, and the flesh of your daughters consume. And I will destroy your high towers, and cut off your sin gods from you, your carrion fleeing to your carrion idols, and from you my soul turn away. I will turn your cities to deserts, and your sanctifications reject, and smell not the smell of your sweets. Your land shall be turned to a waste, and o'er it your enemies rule, and there shall dwell for themselves, while I fling you out to the heathen, and after you blow scorching wind, and by it your land shall be wasted, and your skins shall be burnt by its breath, till the ground has enjoyed all its Sabbaths, by the time that it lies as a waste, and your haters shall be in the land, whilst it rests and delights in its rest. It shall rest in its desolate time, for you gave it not rest in your rests, while upon it you rested yourselves. Your fragments shall have coward hearts, as you crouch in the lands of your foes, who shall drive you by threatening voice, and you fly as men fly from hot blasts, and fall down when no one pursues. You shall stagger the one on the other, as though from the face of such blasts, though no one pursues, and never stand up to your foes. You shall wander among every nation, and tramp in the lands of your foes, and your remnants shall waste in your sins, in the land of your foes as they watch for the sins of your fathers and selves, till confessing the faults of yourselves, and the faults that your fathers have done, and your treacherous revolt against me, and the fury with which you assailed, I therefore dealt fiercely with you, and brought to the land of your foes. If your hard hearts, however, there bow, and you purify them from their sins, I will think of my bond made with Jacob, and also with Isaac my bond, and with Abraham remember my covenant, and also remember the land. Thus the land rid of their load, and freed, shall in quietude rest. But they shall be gorged with their sins, and gorged by my judgments despised, and my statutes their souls had abhorred. But though thus in the land of their foes, I will not reject them nor loathe, so far as my treaty to break, for I am their still living God. I therefore will bring to their minds my old treaty contracted with them in the sight of the heathen around, to be their God, for I am the life. These are the institutions and judgments and the laws which the ever-living appointed between himself and between the children of Israel at Mount Sinai, by the hand of Moses. Chapter 27. The ever-living also spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, and say to them, When a person separates himself, for you to value his life for the ever-living, you shall value him for a male from 20 years old to 60 years. And your valuation for a male shall be 50 shekels of silver by the sacred shekel, but if it is for a female, your valuation shall be 30 shekels. But if from 5 up to 20 years old, then the value of a male shall be 20 shekels, and for a female 10 shekels. But if from a month up to 5 years old, then the value of a male shall be 5 shekels of silver, and for a female the value 3 shekels of silver. But if they are 60 years old or more, if a male, then the value shall be 15 shekels, and for a female 10 shekels. But if the redeemable person is defective, then he shall be placed before the priest, and the priest shall estimate what may be the amount of his value for the vow he is to pay to the priest. But if it is a beast that they sacrifice from, that is vowed to the ever-living, all that belongs to it shall be sacred to the ever-living. They shall not alter or change it good for bad, or bad for good. But if it is changed, it shall be changed for a beast of the same kind, and the exchange shall be sacred. But if of any unclean beast, which they do not offer as a gift to the ever-living, then the beast shall be shown to the priest. And the priest shall estimate its value between good and bad, and it shall be redeemed as the priest decides. But if they redeem it, they shall then add a 5th part to the valuation. But if a man devotes his house as sacred to the ever-living, then the priest shall estimate between good and bad. As the priest values it, so it shall stand. But if the consecrator redeems his house, he must add 1/5 to the money value above what has been fixed for it. But if anyone consecrates his inherited farm to the ever-living, it shall then be valued according to its acreage, what takes a comer of seed at 50 shekels of silver. But if he consecrates his farm before the year of Jubilee, the priest shall then calculate for him the money on the basis of the years remaining until the year of Jubilee, and equate the valuation. But if he redeems the farm which he had consecrated, he shall then add a 5th above the valuation price, and it shall continue his. But if he does not redeem the farm, or if he sells the land to another person afterward, he cannot redeem it forever. But the farm shall be consecrated to the ever-living. Until the arrival of the Jubilee, the estate shall be as a farm for cultivation for the priests. But if the farm has been purchased, and was not an entailed estate which he consecrated to the ever-living, then the priest shall fix a redemption for him by the amount of value according to the year of Jubilee, and decide the value from the day he has consecrated to the ever-living. Then the estate shall return at the year of Jubilee from the person who bought it, to the person to whom it was an entailed land. Every valuation shall be by the sacred shekel. 20 gera are a shekel. However, a firstborn that is born to the ever-living, no man shall consecrate, whether an ox or a sheep. It is the ever-living's. But if of an unclean beast, then it shall be valued as an ox, and 1/5 of the price above it, and if it is not redeemed, it shall be sold at the valuation. However, anything devoted to destruction which a person devotes to the ever-living, of anything he possesses, from man to beast, or an estate of inheritance, he shall not sell it, but he shall redeem every devoted thing. It shall be holy of holies to the ever-living. Anything devoted which is devoted by a man, which is unredeemable, shall be put to death. And all tithe of the land, from the grain of the earth, from the fruit of the tree, is sacred to the ever-living. But if a person redeems it from tithe, he shall add 1/5 to it. All tithe of cattle and sheep, all that passes under the measure for tithing, shall be sacred to the ever-living. You shall not distinguish between good and bad, and not change. But if you do change, then the exchange shall be sacred, it shall not be redeemed. These are the commands which the ever-living commanded by Moses to the children of Israel at Mount Sinai. The end of chapters 22 through 27, and the end of the book of Leviticus from the Holy Bible in Modern English, translated by Ferrar Fenton. Recording by Mark Penfold.